Alright, my name is Nick Rossman and this is my Foods of the World project on Guatemala. So today I'm going to be making Guatemalan enchiladas. So we're going to start by cutting up some beets here. I have 4 beets that I'm going to cut into small squares. So I'll start by doing that. And while I do that, I'll talk about the imports and exports of Guatemala. So some of the Guatemala's top food imports are fats and oils, processed dairy products, alcoholic beverages, processed vegetables, snack foods, and condiments like jams and jellies. And then some of their top exports are bananas, coffee, sugar, vegetables, spices, and palm oil. Alright, so I got those cut up, so we're going to leave those there for now. So the next thing we're going to do, we're making like the vegetable mixture that goes on top of the enchilada. So I've got 4 cups of water in a saucepan, so I'm going to add 2 cups of green beans, 2 cups of peas, some bay leaves, and we're going to cook those in the water really quick. So I'm going to add these to the water, and then we're going to bring that to a boil. It also has me adding 2 bay leaves to that, so we'll go ahead and stir that up and bring that to a boil. So while that's cooking, I have to chop up some tomato and some onion. It's going to be for the ground beef and the tomato sauce mixture. So I have just little tomatoes today. So we'll cut all these up. So we're going to cut half this onion first into small squares. While I'm doing that, I'll talk more about the imports and exports. So Guatemala's climate allows them to grow a lot of fruits and vegetables, which they can export to other countries. They don't have the farms to produce goods like milk and dairy products, so those are a lot of the things they have to import. If you look at a lot of the traditional dishes in Guatemala, many of the foods that they cook there are centered around the things that they can grow, like fruits and vegetables. So I chopped up that onion. So now I'm going to go ahead and chop up some of the tomatoes, and then we'll eventually saute them with the onion. Okay, so I have this saucepan turned on to medium heat, so I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And then I'm going to add these onions, and they're going to saute. This is half the onion. So that's going to saute for a few minutes, and then I'll add the tomato sauce, or the tomato, and then eventually the ground beef. Okay, so while that stuff's cooking and the vegetables are steaming, what we're going to do is cut the other half of the onion and then 2 more tomatoes, because that's going to be for our tomato sauce. So we're going to bring that to a boil after we have it all cut up. So while I'm doing this, some of the common dishes of Guatemala include papayan, which is a chicken stew. It also includes relanitos, which is a fried pudding. Tostados are fried tortillas with various toppings. So we're actually going to be using tostadas today for these enchiladas. Arroz and leche is rice pudding with a flavored beverage. Champurradas are cookies. And chichitos are boiled corn dough with filling. So now that I have that onion chopped, I'm gonna grab my other 2 tomatoes and this onion, and I'm gonna put it in a pot and boil them. And then we're gonna peel the skin off the tomatoes, and they'll go in a blender and get blended together and make the tomato sauce. So back over here, these onions are starting to saute. So we'll let them saute, and then we'll add those tomatoes, and then the vegetables are starting to get warmed up right now. So now that these onions are starting to saute, we're gonna add the tomato, and we'll saute that for 2 to 3 minutes. I'm also gonna add 1 more tablespoon of olive oil to that mixture. Okay, so I just drained the vegetables, and I've got my beets here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add these to the beets, and then I'm gonna add a half cup of white vinegar, which I got here, and then salt and pepper, and then I'm gonna grab some olive oil and add to those vegetables as well. Just adding 1 tablespoon. So I'm gonna grab a spoon and mix this all together. So in Guatemala, some of the common cooking utensils are ceramic plates and dishes. So there's various types of floral designs that are found on those different types of dishes, and they can be passed down through generations. Wooden spatulas and spoons are also commonly used in Guatemalan kitchens. And handmade pottery is also used in many kitchens across the country. So my vegetables are all mixed up. These are still sauteing, so they're just about done. And then I'm gonna add my ground beef into that and cook the ground beef with those vegetables. So what I'm gonna do now with this is I'm gonna take about 2/3 of it and put it into a bowl. And then this last third that's left, I'm gonna go ahead and add my ground beef. And I will cook this ground beef until it's brown, along with the onions and a few tomatoes that are left in the pan. So the other half of this onion I'm going to put into this pan and saute that up. And then I also boiled 2 tomatoes and peeled the skin off. So I'm going to take those tomatoes and then these onions, once they're sauteed a little bit, and I'm going to blend those together and make a tomato sauce. So I'm going to brown this ground beef. And then these onions are just slowly starting to heat up here. And then we have the vegetable mixture, and that is gonna go on top of our tostadas. So while that stuff's cooking, talk a little more about Guatemalan food traditions. So one traditional dish is called jacon. So it's a chicken and tomato stew that's prepared at Easter. It's often cooked over an open fire, and it's very traditional in their culture. Fiambre is a massive salad. So this is a traditional dish that's made on the Day of the Dead. So this comes from people bringing dishes to share at their celebrations, and eventually they all just got mixed together. So these recipes for this big salad are passed down from generation to generation. Dining etiquette. So the most honored person is seated at the head of the table, and dishes are passed always to the left. Family is very important in their culture, and most meals will be eaten together. Okay, so now I've got the other half of the onion and 2 tomatoes in the blender, so I'm going to blend them, and that'll be my tomato sauce. got that done. Okay, so we're gonna assemble this. So we got a tostada here. I've got 2 lettuce leaves, so we're gonna put a layer of lettuce on there. We're gonna take a couple spoonfuls of this vegetable stuff we made with the beets and the green beans and the carrots and all that. So we got a good layer of that on there. So then we're gonna add a couple spoonfuls of the ground beef. Just like that. Then we've got hard-boiled egg. Put that on there. And then we've got a little bit of this tomato sauce. We can drizzle on top the tomato, onion stuff. And then we're gonna sprinkle on some cheese right on top. And that's your finished product. I hope you learned a little bit more about Guatemala and their food.